Hello, my name is Devorah Fastag, and I live in Eretz Israel. I've been living here for about 50 years, and I'm standing right now outside of Kever. And Eretz Israel is the land of the Shekhinah, and that's really what I wanted to talk about. This week's Parsha, Parshas Bahar, we're told about the Shemitah and the Yovel. The Shemitah is for 6 years you work the land. The 7th year it lies fallow. It's Shabbos LaHashem. It's the land has a Shabbos for Hashem. This cycle goes on for 7 times, making 49 years. And then you have Yovel at the end. Yovel is the 50th year, and Yovel, it says, V'shavu ish el chuzato v'ish el nachlato. Every person goes back to their inheritance. If they sold the land becomes back, it becomes theirs again. They go back to it. A Jewish slave goes free on the Yovel year. It's a year of freedom. It says, "Kresim dror ba'aretz." We'll call that liberty in the land. Now we have an exact parallel to this in the Sfirat HaOmer, which comes out at the same time that read Parashat Bahar. You have 7 days, 7 times, for a total of 7 weeks. 7 times is 49 days, and the 50th day is the day we received the Torah. So we have these numbers of 7 times 7, and then we have the highest level is the 50th. Why is there such a parallel? It's a very good question. It's not obvious. The Torah doesn't tell us straight out what the parallel is. So we have to go a little bit more deeper into Pnimius Torah to understand what the parallel here over is. First of all, let's understand something about Eretz Israel itself. It says that Kol Yisrael yesh lam chelek l'olam haba. All of Israel have a place in the world to come. Shene'emar v'amech kulam tzadikim, as it says, your nation are all tzadikim. Le'olam yeshu aretz, they will forever inherit the land. Neitzer mata'ai madei ma'aseh yadei litzba'er, the plant, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands to be proud of. Now, this pasuk is coming to prove that all Yisrael have a place in Olam Haba, but it's not talking about Olam Haba. The pasuk doesn't mention Olam Haba. It says Olam Yeshu Arsel, forever inherit Eretz Israel. So, what's the connection to Olam Haba? How does this prove that all of Israel have a place in Olam Haba? The answer is that if you have a place in Eretz Israel, it means you have a place in Olam Haba. As the Sfas puts it, Yesh lamar davar achad heim, Eretz Yisrael v'Olam Haba. They're one thing, Eretz Yisrael and Olam Haba. Why? Because Eretz Yisrael is the land of the Shekhinah, and Olam Haba is the place of the Shekhinah. That's what Olam Haba is. The Shekhinah is Hashem's feminine presence in the world. What you have above in Olam Haba, you have on a lower level here in Olam Hazeh in Eretz Yisrael. You cannot get to Olam Haba without 2 things. One of them is Eretz Yisrael, and the other one is the Torah. Obviously, you need the Torah to get to Olam Haba. I mean, this is something that should be obvious. We all learned it. If you're religious, you know that. You have to keep the Torah to get to Olam Haba. But not everybody knows that you have to walk in Eretz Yisrael in order to get to Olam Haba. It says every 4 amos in Eretz Yisrael is a new mitzvah, but not only that, Chazal said anyone who walks 4 amos in Eretz Yisrael has a chelik in Olam Haba. Why? What's the connection? Because the Shekhinah is in the land, in the Arba amos that you walked, in the land itself of Olam Haba. And this is the land where you can see the greatest hashgacha pratit. Anyone who looks at the histories of the wars of Eretz Yisrael in the modern times, or even in your own personal life in Eretz Yisrael, like somebody said to me, we eat here miracles for breakfast, lunch, and supper. So what about somebody who never lived in Eretz Yisrael? Okay, it doesn't mean that they won't have Olam Haba, because afterwards there's Techiyat HaMeitim, and Techiyat HaMeitim takes place where? In Eretz Yisrael, of course. All the bodies that were buried in Chutz La'aretz roll into Eretz Yisrael in some kind of a tunnel, and they get up, and their neshama comes back into them here in Eretz Yisrael, and then they'll have the chance to walk on the soil of Eretz Yisrael and live in Eretz Yisrael and go on from there to Olam Haba. But we have to understand that if a person has the chance to live in Eretz Yisrael now, and they deliberately don't want to live here, then they're basically what they're saying is, I don't need to be close to the Shekhinah. I don't need to be close to Hashem. And that's a very, very negative thing. This was like something like the Chetam Raglim. So if you have any possibility at all, if you feel that you could come to Eretz Yisrael, come.